Welcome, my friends, to the Sage Acquaid Radio Hour, your home for free and critical thinking, and I'm your host, Mike Williams. Tonight, Eric Dubay returns to the show. Eric is a leading and prominent voice behind the revival of the Flat Earth theory. He currently lives in Thailand, where he teaches yoga and Wing Chun, which is the traditional Chinese martial art of self-defense. Eric has also written a number of books, one of which is The Flat Earth Conspiracy, where Eric explains how the world has been systematically brainwashed and indoctrinated for centuries into believing the greatest lie of all time, that the Earth is a spinning globe. He has also recently released his free ebook, 200 Proofs Earth is Not a Spinning Ball. The discussion with Eric was wide-ranging as we talk about the traction the Flat Earth theory is gaining throughout the world, along with Eric's thoughts on Zionism, controlled opposition, psychopathic behavior, and forbidden topics like the Holocaust. I strongly urge everyone to listen with an open and critical mind. I believe you'll find the Flat Earth topic extremely interesting and not as cut and dry as you might think. And so without further ado, here is Eric Dubay. Eric, thank you so much for coming back on the show. And the last time you were on was back in June of this year. And so 4 months has elapsed. And what I'd like to do is to get your perspective, your vantage point on how the Flat Earth movement is progressing. Is there more traction? Are you seeing any reaction from NASA or other government agencies to marginalize the movement?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely gaining traction. There's a lot more Flat Earth subscribers, a lot more people on the forum, a lot more people making videos. Since we talked last, I've come out with the 200 Proofs Earth is Not a Spinning Ball ebook and now video book, which is gaining more traction than anything else I've done. The ebook is getting up around 400,000 views now, 400,000 downloads rather. And then it's on like 4 pages deep in Google with other people rehosting it. So I don't know how many hits it's gotten there. And I just uploaded the video book and it's up to about 50,000 views in just a few days. So that one's looks like to be going viral. Yeah, there's a lot of traction. I think it's gaining ground really fast, as it should. You know, the truth has been suppressed so long, it's like holding a balloon underwater. Once you let go, it just rises to the surface really fast. All the ridicule and insults just go to one way and the balloon keeps going, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing. I had mentioned to you in one of the emails that one of the other YouTubers that I really appreciate his work is My Perspective.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think he takes a very, very logical approach to presenting his material. So those types of YouTube channels and that type of information between you and I, and we'll get into this later in the discussion, is few and far between.
Unfortunately, yeah. There's a lot of Flat Earth channels, but not so many people doing it as well as Rory Cooper, My Perspective there.
Yeah.
Sticking really to the science, sticking to provable perspective-based things, science-based things, not getting off into the realm of speculation and theorizing like so many of them do. Yeah, he sticks really down to earth, so to speak, pun intended.
I agree. Now, let me ask you this question here. With all the work that you're doing on Flat Earth, what do you see as the biggest obstacle to getting people to pay more attention and awaken even to other truths? I mean, what gets in the way of people turning that corner and opening their eyes and saying, holy smokes, here's a set of truths and I need to focus on this? So I know this is kind of a large question to ask, but maybe you can just give an overview of what you see as those obstacles.
Yeah, I think the main obstacle is just the years and years of brainwashing and just the fact that 99.9% of society is completely on board with this heliocentric spinning ball, Big Bang, infinite space mythos. So to step outside of it, you become a complete outsider. You can't talk to anybody about it. Nobody can relate to you about it. And even if it is the truth, which it is, then you can't stand there by yourself. Everyone, the second somebody posts their first, Flat Earth YouTube video or something on their Facebook account, they send me a message right away and say, Eric, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I can't respond to all these comments. I don't know what they're asking me. Some people intuitively grasp onto the fact that the Earth is so obviously flat and motionless. And once you've seen a few of the proofs, once you've debunked the spinning ball proofs, you know it instinctively. You want you want to spread the word, but you maybe haven't researched it as much as you actually have to be able to prepare for the onslaught of NASA brainwashed zombies that are going to come your way, thinking that they know everything about the spinning ball they're living on. So, yeah, not only do you have to figure it out for yourself, if you're going to talk about it to anybody, you now have to be, you got to get your armor on, get your shield ready, polish your sword. You really have to do your research and prepare for literally everything. And that's exactly what I did when I came out with this material. I'd been a flat earther silently for quite a while, but I didn't want to say anything because I knew the ridicule and the amount of scrutiny and criticism and questioning that I would go under the second I came out with it. So I knew I just have to really fortify this knowledge myself so that I'm able to handle myself when the gauntlet of questions and criticisms and insults come my way. And unfortunately, that's what you have to do, and that would be my advice to people who are coming into this and figuring out that this really is the truth. As much as you'd like to go Paul Revere and sound the bell, and I would like you to do that as well, you gotta be patient about it and really know this stuff yourself first, because if you're gonna inform other people, educate people about this who've been miseducated for literally 500 years, you're going to have a lot of flack to go through. So you got to prepare yourself, research, so that you know that you have all the answers for all the questions you can think of. You probably, when you first came to the subject, had who knows how many questions. Where's the edge? How could they be lying? Why are they lying? All these questions that come to your mind are certainly going to come to your friends and family and everyone on your Facebook timeline's mind. So you better be prepared to answer them. We've got a great resource at ifrs.boards.net with a frequently asked questions, the 200 proofs, a whole bunch of other clickable, linkable things that you can give. That's now the easier way, so that you don't have to actually type out your own answers to all these questions. You should be able to find them somewhere on Atlantean Conspiracy, my YouTube channel, or IFRS. But yeah, that's my recommendation for people coming into this, and that's the main reason why it's so difficult to really, awaken ourselves and to awaken other people to this. And why don't they care? Well, it's not that they don't care, it's that they don't know that it's true, and even if it is true, they can't see how deep this goes, so they don't understand why it's even relevant or important. The shape of the earth doesn't seem that important until you really expound upon the deepness of this conspiracy and how far-reaching it is. And it's much more than just the shape of the earth. I mean, they're lying not only about the shape of the earth, but how much earth there is. Certain structures that ancient man claimed to have been on this earth that are now wiped off of the libraries. You can barely find any information on things, such as Mount Meru and the supposed whirlpool surrounding it that causes the ocean's tides. These are interesting concepts that were written about, over 500 years ago, but nowadays you can't even find existing copies of some of these books. Invencio Fortunato, for instance, is one of these lost books. They've got all these lost books that are known about and written about, but the original source themselves now are, lost to ancient history, a lot of them in Alexandria and whatnot. So we're trying to recover lost history here. More than 500 years ago, the entire world knew that it was flat and motionless. But in the past 500 years, all information about this has been systematically done away with. So it's really difficult to come across it.
On that topic, Eric, so maybe we should go into this a little bit, because I get the same types of responses when I talk about this. Why does it matter, Mike? Why does it matter whether it's flat, it's square, it's triangular? What difference does it make? So, to me, it matters because if they're going to lie about something like what the Earth actually is, then there's no limit to what they will lie about. So how do you respond to that when people say those types of things? Because I'm sure they say that to you.
Sure. Yeah, well, what they're doing is they're setting themselves up as the authority while giving us answers that we can only base on their authority. So I can't access Hubble telescope and check if these are actual images of other galaxies they're sending me, or are these just CGI photoshops that they're coming up with. I can't access the Epic satellite that's supposedly a million miles away, sending us footage through their magical million-mile internet of the dark side of the moon, even though it looks exactly like a cartoon and nothing like actual footage of the Earth. I can't confirm these things, and they know that. So that's what they're doing, is they set up this technological, expensive show that nobody else can have access to. So that they send up rockets higher than anyone else can send them, and then they claim to be going so far into outer space that they get to this special place in the atmosphere where they can just float around. And that's where you see these astronauts who are actually just on harnesses in front of green screens, or floating around in dark pools, or flying around in zero-G planes. It's just a bunch of Hollywood tricks, but they've convinced everybody that there's this zero-G place up there in infinite vacuum, non-gravitized space where they can just float around, and they can use jet propulsion to somehow propel themselves through the zero atmosphere to wherever they want to go. Now they're going to Mars, apparently, as well as outside of this galaxy, turning around and taking photos of it, and then sending it through a million-mile internet connection that they can't show us exists.
Right, and then they rely on the movies also, right? I mean, they rely on the movies to propagandize the public. Movies that come to mind as you're speaking, I'm thinking of Gravity, Interstellar, and the new one, Martian. This is all conditioning to get people thinking along the lie. This is how it looks, this is how it is, right?
Absolutely. And they're the only ones that can tell us so, because we can't verify any of this for ourselves. We can't go to Mars. We can't go to the moon. We can't access Hubble telescope. So we have to go to Neil deGrasse Tyson and Carl Sagan and watch their Cosmos series, or subscribe to them on Twitter and figure out what cosmology is all about, what astrophysics is all about. We don't have access to these things, except we do. When you look back to the 19th century, you find these scientists, flat earther geocentrists, doing experiments using telescopes, spirit levels, all the same kind of sextants, same kind of technology that we could use. But nowadays, we just go to these experts instead. We see in their movies they've gone to the moon. Okay, they know what they're doing. Let's just trust them. So that's what they've done, is they've set themselves up as this authority that's unquestionable, and we can't even question them because of their far-reaching technology. The best you can say is, I don't believe you. And they're like, wow, they're so credible. They get trillions of dollars. Some yoga guy says they're not believable. I'm not going to believe them. So it's hard to get traction, because I'm not official. That they're official. And what about JAXA and RASA? What about the Russians? I mean, the Russians, if the Americans didn't go to the moon, the Russians surely would have called them on it. And what about the Japanese space and the Chinese space agencies? They couldn't all be lying, could they? So people have no idea of the depth of the conspiracy. They have no idea about Freemasonry, for instance, which is the largest and oldest secret society in the world, over 5 million members in almost every country in the world. This exists and has existed for hundreds of years, and is based on a hierarchical, compartmentalized system of degrees where people swear blood oaths every degree up that they will never divulge the secrets of this organization. So, I mean, this is a reality. This is the world you live in. It's run by secret societies. And most people have no idea about that. So you tell them, hey, the Earth's flat. They're like, well, and we didn't go to the moon. Oh, you couldn't lie to that many people. They couldn't get away with a lie that big. How many times do you hear that one? Yep. People aren't aware of how many huge lies have already been gotten away with, and are gotten away with every day. Pretty much everything you see that passes for news, those 3 rotating stories that every major news channel agrees are newsworthy every week, pretty much every single thing there is just constructed nonsense that they've used to either distract you or change your mind from one event into another. This isn't actual news that you're being fed. I mean, the word news, N-E-W-S, north, east, west, south, the idea is that they can encapsulate everything that's important that happens every day or every week and fit it into a half-hour program with little news bites. And if you watch it, or if you read their newspapers, then you are now informed on what's going on in the world. And if you listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about what Hubble Space Telescope's doing, then you're informed about what's going on in space. And if you watch Matt Damon on Mars in this movie that just happens to come out right after they claim there's water on Mars and we're going to send people to Mars in the next decade and all this. Yeah, you're under hypnotism. You're under brainwashing right now. Secret societies run the world. There is a Atlantean conspiracy, as I call it. There's a global conspiracy. The word global, the globe.
Right.
Or as Alex Jones will say, the globalists, takes on a whole new meaning when you realize the Earth is flat. These globalists, the ones that have been lying to us about the globe, they've been doing this for hundreds of years. The UN is just like their end game. It's just like them coming out into the open. The idea that we're not already under a new world order is hilarious. We've been under a Jew world order, a Jew and Freemason world order for hundreds of years now. It's just solidifying its control under the UN, and now with the European Union and the Euro, solidifying a one world government, one world currency. This is the Zionist dream. That's what Zion is. It's the idea that there'll be a one world superstate where every Jew will have 2,800 slaves. Their whole religion is based on them being God's chosen people, where they will rule over everyone else. And they do that, of course, through deceit, lies, trickery, usury, and that's what we see happening now.
Well, and using their holy book, the Talmud.
Absolutely, yeah, which is, a joke to me to call a book holy, which talks about, well, first of all, separates the people who are in this religion from everyone else who isn't in it. So you create a dichotomous world where everyone in the religion is said to be God's chosen people, and everyone outside of it are called goyim, which means cattle, or shiksas, the women, which means whore. So they have derogatory terms for everyone outside of their religion. And the reason for that is because they actually think derogatorily towards everyone who is outside of their religion, as evidenced by the Talmud and the Zohar and other of their holy books that talk about how that it's holy to have sex with children as long as they're under 9 years old. And it's holy to murder people as long as they're not Jewish. It's fine to steal from people as long as they're not Jewish. If a non-Jew hits you, you may murder them. Things like this. And they talk about if they ever, just like in Masonry, like I said, if you ever divulge the secrets of Masonry, you'll say these oaths where it's like, I wish my tongue to be cut out by the root if I ever divulge the secrets of Masonry. I wish to be disemboweled upon a spear if I should ever divulge the secrets of Masonry. You swear these oaths every degree up. And it's the same thing in Jewry, which essentially created Masonry. All the rituals, symbols, symbology, and even the heads of it are interchangeable, like revolving doors, and they talk about it openly. So these are the people that have been controlling the world, the globalists that Alex Jones won't tell you about. He'll talk about the globalists, but he won't tell you who they are. He'll give you a triangle pyramid chart, and he'll put the Bilderberg Group at the apex of the pyramid. This little yearly meeting of 100, top execs in the corporate sphere mostly, who've only been meeting for the past 50 or 60 years. This is the head of the giant hydra of his globalist conspiracy. It's only existed for 50 or 60 years. Sorry, Alex, but this has been going on for a lot longer than that, and the Bilderberg Group certainly isn't on the apex of your little pyramid that you put on all your documentaries. The people who should be on the top are the people he rarely ever mentions, which are the Jewish Zionists and Freemasons. He was totally exposed when he interviewed David Duke recently. He even censored the interview after he begrudgingly did it after years of avoiding it. And David Duke just completely, in a gentlemanly fashion, destroyed the entirety of Alex Jones's supposed conspiratorial worldview, where he leaves out the Jewish influence.
That was interesting because I did watch that interview. What's interesting to me, Eric, is that there are clips of Alex Jones where, and they are several years old, I will admit that, where he goes into Zionism and he goes into Jewish control. And I've listened to these clips. So it's not like he's unaware. Could it be, I'm just putting this out there, that he was told, you better shut your mouth?
Absolutely, yeah. His wife's Jewish. GCN, his radio show is Jewish. Almost all of his sponsors, the things he sells on his website, are Jew-owned. I've seen breakdowns of this. So he's totally surrounded by that, as well as you've got his Stratfor, which is a CIA front company. Half his employees seem to be coming from here nowadays. He's also admitted straight up that half my family works for the CIA. It's like a big reunion every time we get together. I have that clip saved. So he's given a lot of hints to the fact that he's definitely part of these inside organizations, as well as just the fact that he omits so much from his show, including the flat Earth and the moon landing hoax, as well as Zionism. Though, yeah, you may be right that he has talked about it before, and he's been gotten to in some way, and that's why he's stopped talking about it. But certainly the silence is deafening. The elephant in the room is just sitting there.
Yeah, yeah. I tend to think that he was told, you better shut your mouth. What I wanted to say also, just on your point about all of the programming, right? So what they're doing is they're fostering a mental laziness and an apathy. And so there's no critical thinking. You were saying before, look, they say, hey, go to the experts. These are the people that know. You don't know anything. You're too stupid to figure this stuff out. So you need to listen to the following folks and everything will be okay. You just fall in line and everything will be all right. So, but that's what it is. I mean, people go to the movies, TV, radio, and so on and so forth. What they're doing is they're locking and loading on programming. They're being programmed.
Absolutely. Yeah, like you said, it's not even in just in the nonfiction, it's in the fiction too. So all your science fiction is fiction, and what you're receiving as science is fiction too. But they don't tell you. So the line is totally blurred between fiction and nonfiction, science and science fiction, reality and constructed fake reality that's been programmed for you, indoctrinated into you through government schools and government media. You can't have a radio station or a TV channel without government approval. These public schools are all government run. The curriculum's decided by the government.
Right.
And who owns your governments? Is it really the people that own the government? Do we actually still believe that? I mean, so yeah, the fact that it's so difficult to break through with new revolutionary and true ideas like the flat Earth, and the fact you got people like Obama ridiculing the Flat Earth Society in several of his speeches, scripted into the President of America's speeches is flat Earth ridicule. I mean, you got to think about that.
Right.
And we're never taught in school anything about flat Earth. We got a unit on the spinning ball Earth right from 5 or 6 years old. We got a unit about how Hitler's the most evil man in history ever since about 7 or 8 years old. You got a unit about the Holocaust. You watch a Steven Spielberg movie, read the fake diary of Anne Frank or something about every year until you're in college, and you never once hear about Stalin. You never once hear about why Hitler rose to power or what he was a response to. You never once hear some of these counterculture ideas. The most counterculture thing they feed you is some depraved thing like Catcher in the Rye or whatnot. I mean, they create the culture and the counterculture. They create the mainstream media and the alternative media. It's the Hegelian dialectic. They've got both sides of the coin already programmed. They've already controlled the opposition. So even if you think that you're going to go against them, they've already set up fake leaders to lead you into nowhere. So yeah, that's what we've got to contend with. Not only do we contend with the obvious enemy, we contend with the frenemy. The snake, the wolf in sheep's clothing that pretends to cuddle up to you, and then you find out in the end that he was the bigger enemy than the guy that was obviously your enemy.
Yeah, and it's interesting you should bring this up because I had a discussion with Deanna Spingola yesterday, and we touched on some of this. So let me ask you this question. What you're saying is they're 10 steps ahead. So let's just, I know we're deviating from the flat Earth here, but what about a guy like Donald Trump who is spouting off all kinds of alternative media types of discussion and comments, and he's tweeting and all this stuff? Is he part of this fix?
Yeah, anybody that's running for president is part of the system. Ron Paul is no more revolutionary or anti-system than Barack Obama is. He's a Freemason. You see him flashing the signs. His girls are in the Rainbow Girls. And anybody that's running for president and thinking that they're going to create actual change through this democratic system is a fool. First of all, the money that you get as a president or as a politician or any government job is paid for by the taxes that the population is forced to pay. And that's essentially what government is. Government is force. Government is a group of people, like a mafia, that is able to use force over the rest of the people to get what they want. And what they want is a lot of tax money. They want you not to grow certain plants. They want you not to smoke those plants. They want you not to do anything that they decide, that they write on a little piece of paper, that their lawyers put through a court system. Now you can't do it, and if you do, we'll put you in bars, we'll fine you, take your money away, we'll kill you, we'll send stormtroopers into your house to shoot your dog, and find out that it was actually the neighbor that was the problem. Stories like this coming in all the time. The government doesn't care about you. They lie to you about everything. That's why Barack Obama laughs about the flat earth in his speeches. You should be able to see the duper's delight smirk in these politicians, Donald Trump included. I've seen clips of Donald Trump thanking Israel and saying what a friend to Israel he is, just like all the other candidates do and have to do. Otherwise, they're not going to get into position. The most powerful lobby in America is AIPAC. They get the most money, more money to Israel than anywhere else. America is a huge satellite of Israel. Why do you think we're fighting all these wars in the Middle East? Why are all of Israel's enemies America's enemies? Why is there so much sympathy for Israel and barely any sympathy for Palestine in the mainstream media?
Right.
Who runs the mainstream media? Who runs Hollywood?
Right.
Where are we getting these ideas from? Why is the empathy towards the predators? Why don't we have empathy for the true victims? Why are the predators shown to be victims over and over and over again?
Yeah, it's interesting when you mentioned about Obama bringing up the Flat Earth Society. And you're exactly right. It's never taught in school, so most people would not have a clue as to what it is that he's referring to because they were never taught it. Yet he brings it up in a speech. So that's kind of a wink and a nod, I guess, to whoever it is that he needs to communicate to. Right?
Like you said, they're 10 steps ahead of us, and that's what he's doing by referencing the Flat Earth Society.
Yeah.
Now, what is the Flat Earth Society but a controlled opposition organization that's been set up for decades to control the flow of information regarding the flat Earth, so that when people find out that the Earth is flat and motionless, and they look it up and they try to find, is there any organizations or leaders or anyone, in this movement, they find the Flat Earth Society with their Freemasonic leader telling them a bunch of fake flat Earth facts to actually deter neophytes from the subject. So you get Leo Ferrari going on TV with a big boulder every time saying, I've just went to the edge of the flat Earth and I almost fell off, but luckily this rock here was here to save me. I held on to it. Most of my crew went over, but I'm here to tell you that the Earth is indeed flat. And he'd start an interview like this and carry on. He might throw in a couple actual valid proofs of the flat Earth. And then, that's it. And anyone who sees the show has now been taught that flat Earth is taken satirically, even by the big leaders in the movement. Nowadays, now that flat Earth resurgence has come back, we've got new shills in the movement, new controlled opposition, and they're doing the same thing. They're mixing in a bunch of fake arguments or a bunch of nonsense, other arguments, other non-flat Earth related things to throw the argument, into la-la land, so nobody's going to pay attention anymore. And then when you expose them for doing this, they come back at you and tell you that's what you're doing. So that's what we've got now, is this big rift in the flat Earth community between the controlled opposition, much of which was set up before I came along in the first place. And now that I've exposed that and come in with legitimate flat Earth material that's really taking traction, now we've got a new wave of shills that are coming in to try and detract from the new wave of flat Earth revelation that's going on.
Well, let's expand on that a little bit, Eric. You have been very tough on folks who are putting out flat Earth material. And I see this because of the work that I do with the radio show and the blog. And I've heard things like, it's Eric's way or the highway. Eric has an agenda. Eric is an intelligence operative. He came out of nowhere. And I've heard all of these things. So how do you address those statements? Because I'm sure you've heard it all also.
Yeah. Well, in the sense of, I've been writing books and had a website for almost a decade now. I certainly didn't come out of nowhere. Though I did come out of nowhere with the flat Earth material, as I told you about, because I didn't want to come on the scene only half knowing what I was talking about, having discovered the biggest conspiracy of them all. Discovered the mother of all conspiracies. You can't just come out and test the water and put your big toe in and see if people are going to react to it. they're going to react. They're going to react in a big way. It's going to be negative because there's nobody else saying anything even close to that. So there's no corroborating sources. They can't get a second opinion on that. And if you do, it's the Flat Earth Society, which will tell you the Earth is constantly rising to account for gravity and other nonsense, which makes any questioning mind totally shut off to the idea, because they've just given you a bunch of non-answers to your legitimate questions. So that's why I've set up the International Flat Earth Research Society, which was an organization before, which was also in opposition to the Flat Earth Society. Basically, back decades ago, there was two competing flat earthers and flat earth organizations. One of them was the legitimate opposition, and the other the controlled opposition. Since Charles Johnson's death, the controlled opposition has claimed not only to take over, but it's claimed to be the other one. They claim they are the International Flat Earth Research Society, and that Charles K. Johnson was one of them and all this. So they're like the Borg. They just come in and the resistance is futile. You will assimilate. And they have like this one hive mind, and they're just going to take over your legitimate opposition and turn it into just this mishmash of nonsense, no traction. They're going to Mark Sargent it into the ground. They're going to take hologram moons and stars and drinking vodka with Patricia Steere. They're going to turn it into nonsense, which is what they've done. They got a ridiculous flat earth radio show on almost every day of the week now, where they talk about everything but the flat earth, and they just laugh about the notion. So what they're doing is stealing the keyword flat earth, as well as Eric Dubay and other keywords related around this that are popping up, coming in and then putting nonsense videos with these keywords in it. So they're muddying the waters, so people can't just Google flat earth or check out this or that, because suddenly now there's 10 times as much nonsense, and if you click on the wrong thing, you're going to be turned off instantly. And so that just feeds into people's further ridicule of the subject. They look into it and they find one of the controlled opposition guys, and you're not going to want to go any further.
Let me ask this question without getting into any names. How do you personally determine if somebody is the real deal or not? In other words, whether they're a shill or not?
Well, the main way is what they say, and whether they stick to evidence or whether they go off into speculation, a bunch of theories. The other way is obviously looking at their history. A lot of these people coming into the movement are Jewish and admitting that they're Jewish, or Freemasons. You got Matt Boylan wearing his 33 shirt. He just came out on Facebook and said he has Jewish blood. He is a Jew. At first he was just saying he had a bunch of Jewish clients and Jewish friends, and yeah, they would like to take over the world, but they're not, and let's not talk about them. Now he's just come straight out and said it. Patricia Steere says that her mother is Jewish, but she's not Jewish, even though that goes against what Jews say themselves. If your mother is Jewish, then you're Jewish for life, regardless of belief or not. And the way that they obfuscate and talk about subject, like Patricia Steere had this Mr. Moot guy on, and he's in a full armor and a mask, and he talks in a voice like this, and he says, "I've just discovered that the earth is flat, and I've come here wearing my armor and mask and shield because I am a crusader for Christ as well. I'm also a Christian," and he just goes on about whatever reason he's wearing his armor and mask. Anybody that watches this is just going to be completely turned off from the subject, and they know that. It's what they're doing. So you've got a bunch of these people like that. You've got Ashley Webster now that's just been, freaking out. She's claimed that I have death threatened her when I have not even talked to her before. She's claimed that I made her cry on her birthday because someone posted something. Basically, it was just a video showing her timeline on her Facebook where she's saying Shabbat Shalom and posting all these Jewish holidays and wearing Jewish necklaces and all this stuff. And then she's like, "I'm not a Jew. I'm not a Jew." And she liked the JIDF fan page and all this stuff. And she's one of these fake flat earthers coming in to take over the movement. And she's one of these people that's, claiming, "Oh, Eric's an agent. They just kicked me off Facebook because of my activism." And they're claiming now that I'm back with a fake name, they're claiming that my real name was my fake name, and now he's using his real name. And so they're just coming up with this fake drama, this schoolyard kind of gossip because they don't address actual proofs. That's the whole point. You watch it. I recommend you watch these people's videos. You'll figure it out yourself that these people are shills and that I'm the real deal. You just look for proof and evidence, corroborating sources. Do your own research. You'll find who's telling the truth and who's not. The people saying that the Jews are not involved in any way. Don't go there. Don't look at that. And then Eric saying the Jews are absolutely involved. They're at the top of this thing. You can figure it out yourself. Who's right and who's wrong, and who's shilling for who if they're saying the opposite. So it's pretty obvious between muddying the waters of the flat Earth and trying to defer blame onto someone else, right? This is what the fake flat earthers do, is they'll run NASA under the bus, but don't talk about the Freemason and Jewish connection underneath that. Don't talk about how everyone in NASA is a Freemason, and how Freemason is like a revolving door through Judaism. They don't want you to get behind that. It's like the Alex Jones Bilderberg thing. All right, okay, we'll pretend to be an opposition and act like Bilderberg is the top of the pyramid, and then if Bilderberg ever got shut down, big deal. We can still business as usual, New World Order as usual. Same with NASA. Oh, well, the flat Earth gets out, whatever. We let NASA run under the bus. We close that down, and we start some new thing where we acknowledge that the Earth, it is actually flat, and we lied about the moon, whatever. As long as Jewish Freemason power continues, we're all set. So that's the main thing. If they have to discover that the Earth is flat, they don't want you to discover who's been lying to you about it for 500 years.
Now, you got kicked off Facebook? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, now I've been kicked out. They kicked me off Facebook. And they claimed that they needed to see a government ID which matched my date of birth and my name so that they could verify my account. So I gave them that, and it absolutely matched date of birth, my name, and everything. And I got a form letter back saying the same thing. You need to provide us with da-da-da-da. So I wrote them a longer letter back saying, okay, I've just provided you with exactly what you've asked me for, and I still haven't gotten a reason why you've kicked me off. Or why you're not now letting me back on, having given you what you asked for. And I got another response back with the exact same form. So I went in through another Facebook account. I'd already had 2 fake accounts, which I used to post on more Facebook groups than I could do with just one account without being considered a spammer. This is my one of my methods of activism, is I join a bunch of relevant Facebook groups and then post information about conspiracies and flat earth and whatever on them. I recommend everybody do this because there's thousands of people in these groups. You can get information out really well this way. So anyway, I went into one of my fake accounts and I look in my old account, which is now completely gone. My pages for Atlantean Conspiracy, Flat Earth Conspiracy, Spiritual Science, Eric's Esoterics, completely deleted. And my groups, not deleted, but they'd gone in and deleted everything in them. So my groups and the members were still there, but everything right down to the cover photos and profile photos had been deleted.
So they took the content down.
Exactly. So what this tells me is that they have actually manually gone into my Facebook account, which, somebody Zuckerberg has said, look, we can't have this guy on here anymore. He's gaining too much traction. Go in there and just clean his account right out and tell him it's one of those account verification things. Because I did verify my account, and even if they did give it back to me as they should, what are they going to give back to me? A completely emptied out account? They just deleted everything. Like, oh, yep, thanks for validating your account.
Yeah.
Here you go. A shell of an account that we just emptied everything out of back for you. They couldn't do that. So however they pulled this off, it's clearly because of my activism and has nothing to do with their excuse that I had to validate my account, which I did for them.
Well, let me ask you this question then. So do you ever get frustrated with all this? Do you ever have moments when you think to yourself, I should just live a happy, quiet life and be done with all this?
Well, I mean, like every day for me is like, I'll open one comment or one email and it will be, someone completely restoring my faith in humanity, telling, they're behind me 100% and they understand it and they're sharing it as much as they can and, keep doing what you're doing. I'm behind you, and then I click open the next email and it's someone calling me a goy and that they're going to kill me and that I better stop, and all this kind of thing. I mean, and then the next email is another person saying, great job, keep it up. So I every other minute I go back and forth between these kind of emotions and whatnot, but you take it all in stride. And unfortunately, I'm not as elated about the positive emails, but I'm also not as distraught about the negative emails anymore. I have to keep like an even keel now because yeah, I'm so far on both ends of the spectrum. Nobody reacts to my material in like a moderate fashion. Everybody reacts in an extreme fashion, one way or the other. So I find myself trying to be the balanced moderate when the views I'm purporting, as far as anyone else concerns, are anything but. I'm an extremist, the views that I purport are pretty solid and they're not found anywhere else. So yeah, I tend to be a polarizing kind of figure, and that's in not only the flat Earth movement, but other things.
Well, when you got into this, did you think that you were going to start such a firestorm, that there was going to be so much reaction? And I've got to be honest with you, Eric. I mean, I myself have received some very, very belligerent and nasty emails on certain things that I'll put up on the blog or radio shows that I'll do. So, but I can't imagine what I get is more than what you experience. So, did you expect to get this kind of pushback and this kind of vilification?
I'd already been getting a bit for the past several years with my other books, but I expected with this one it was going to be ramped up, and it has been. So, yeah, it's basically what I expected. But I'm fine with that. I assumed it would be that way. That's why I prepared for it, both with all the research and kind of mentally, emotionally. I knew that this was how it was going to be. Obviously, when you come out there with really important information or little known truths, there's going to be a small sector of society that is incredibly thankful, and you're really helping them, and they're going to help you along your mission to help people know the truth. And then there's going to be a huge sector of society, but slowly decreasing as the truth gets out, a huge sector which hates you and, just doesn't want anything to do with you and ridicules you and belittles you and doesn't even look at your information and all that. But I think you get thicker skin over time. You just get used to it. And all those compliments, they really do help, because, yeah, if all you ever got was just negativity 100% of the time and you didn't hear a single positive compliment or that you'd helped someone or that they finally figured out the truth, yeah, it gets tiring. It wears on you over time.
Yep.
But yeah, my recommendation for people is to just try to toughen up your skin, because it's going to happen. If you're going to do anything that's really good for humanity, anything really positive with your life, what's going to happen is you are going to get a bunch of negativity and positivity, extreme. If you just live a mediocre life in the middle, you're not going to get many people death threatening you and saying they want to kill you, but you're not going to get many people saying that, you've done so much to help their life and you're a true leader and all these kind of things. So if you really want to make a difference, and you should, I think everyone has there's some way that everyone can be a leader in their own life and make a positive change. But when you do that, when you do stand for something, you're going to get this dual faceted kind of reaction. You're going to get the love and the hate, and you got to expect it, and you got to prepare for it, and just accept that that's how it has to be. Nobody's going to get all hate. Nobody's going to get all love. But the more you put yourself out there, the more you're going to get both.
On that note, if we just segue into your free ebook, because you're putting the information out, and you're going to get a lot of positives and you're going to get a lot of negatives. You did the ebook, and then you did a video, a 2-hour video, where you went through the 200 proofs. Was that through exasperation, where you're thinking to yourself, Jesus, what's it going to take for these people to get this? So it's a lot of work to do that work. And so, I realize this, that to sit down and put all that together and package it, it's not something that just gets done 1, 2, 3, that you have to sit down and you have to put it all together. So what was the motivation to put that together?
Yeah, well, I'd already written the Flat Earth Conspiracy book, which is the encyclopedia. It's 252 pages, just laying out the whole conspiracy from A to Z. Whereas, and it's a $10 book, so not everyone's able to access that. And not everyone's going to read 250 pages either. So what I wanted was something that was free, that I could just easily link people to and give it out, and that got rid of everything but what the trolls are looking for. Just straight up, irrefutable proofs that you can link people to, and it's great. People are doing it now, and the trolls are all that's left now is ad hominem attacks. They don't even have, they can't even like try to get you to find peer review studies, or their other keywords are always, what is that stupid peer review and double blind study? They probably don't even know what a double blind study is. They're just coming up with these terms to try and obfuscate. But anyway, yeah, absolutely. It was from frustration and just the idea that I want something easily linkable to people that you can see here. Here's 200 proofs the Earth is flat and motionless. NASA, all I can find from them is 10 supposed proofs of the spinning ball Earth. That's the most you're going to find from your official sources, is 10 proofs, all of which I debunked in the 200 proofs Earth's not a spinning ball book. So here's 20 times the amount of proof that your government or other space agencies have ever given you that the Earth is actually the opposite of what they tell you. So that's what I wanted to get out, and that was the motive behind it. And I think the book's doing great. Like I said, probably 400,000 or 500,000, I'd imagine, downloads now. And the video just went up this week, and it's at 50,000.
I've posted it to Facebook because I've had some folks be very inquisitive, because I put the stuff up there. I'm not bashful. And I do try very hard to put very select types of information up on Facebook or my blog with Flat Earth, because as you mentioned before, there's a lot of junk out there. So you want to make sure that, what I do put up there, it's credible as I can possibly discern. And I have put your 200 proofs ebook out there. I tell people it's free, and folks have been writing me back and saying, thank you very much, Mike. I downloaded it. I'm going to take a look at it. I even have a copy on my coffee table downstairs. So when people come over, they'll say, what is this? I say, I don't know. Read it. Take a look, and what's funny, Eric, is they'll start paging through the book, and they'll be sitting there for a very long period of time reading it, and the eyes, if you can get a visual of this, folks, their eyes are like bugging out of their heads. What is this? The Earth is flat? I'm like, keep reading. It gets better, So anyway, it's a great piece of work, I have to tell you.
Thanks, man.
Hey, another question for you. I personally know folks who are well-intentioned and they're in the alternative movement. They'll dig into rabbit hole topics like pedophilia. They'll go into rituals and black magic. They'll be knee-deep in the aerosol spraying program, the chemtrails, the geoengineering, but they won't touch the flat Earth topic, even though some of these folks in private conversations with me will agree that the evidence for the flat Earth is compelling, or that they have concluded that the Earth is indeed flat, but they won't say anything publicly. So, what are your thoughts on why otherwise very smart people would shy away from this topic? Is it a fear of ridicule, or the fact that perhaps that some have built reputations on research that would collapse if the flat Earth theory were accepted? For example, there are folks that are into secret space research, moon bases, non-terrestrial UFOs, deep space probes, like that nonsense with Pluto, and those types of things. What are your thoughts on that? Why is it that there are good-intentioned, smart people that are in the alternative or the so-called truth movement that just do a dance around this? They won't publicly come out and say, you know what? Yeah, it's flat.
Yeah, I think it's exactly the two reasons you just laid out. The first one is that they've already got material out there, or they've said things to people, or they've written books or whatnot, which claims, that we have been to the moon and they've found alien bases on the moon or something like that. For instance, David Icke just came out this week with a flat Earth video. Someone asked him, David, is the Earth flat? That was the only nice, short, to the point question. David, is the Earth flat? And we got 15-minute answer of David Icke waffling on about anything but the flat Earth, about there's perception, and the thing he does with it's everything's consciousness. So because everything's consciousness, whatever I say basically goes. You get it? Okay, that's it. And then the video ends, and he hasn't said anything about whether the Earth's flat or not. So, of course, David has written an entire book saying that the moon is a hollowed-out spaceship which has shape-shifting reptilian aliens inside it, which mind control humans from there with moonbeam rays, whatever. So when you write a book called The Moon Matrix saying this, and then information comes out saying that the moon is a transparent disk and the Earth is flat, and the whole infinite space thing that you say reptilians are coming from Draconis is bunk. Now, he can't officially, publicly come out and go on board that, regardless of how much that truth has come out, because that goes against everything he's already written about. How does he do that? Well, if you had integrity, you'd say, well, I was wrong about that. I've been thinking about the whole reptilian alien shape-shifting from the moon thing, and I think that was complete hogwash, and I just believed Arizona Wilder too much or something. If he said that, maybe he'd gain some credibility back, but he doesn't seem to be doing that. People can make mistakes, but a lot of people just don't want to admit it. So even if they figure out the Earth's flat, they're just going to pretend it's not. And then the other segment is, like you said, the people that just don't want to be ridiculed. They may have figured it out enough to satisfy themselves that it's flat, but they haven't researched it enough to deal with the onslaught of questions and criticism and insults that they're going to be getting from their crew once they start talking about it. That's why I said there is a learning curve, and there's a step between learning enough so that you figure out that, shit, the Earth is flat and motionless. We've been lied to. Wow. I mean, that's a big step. But there's an even bigger step after that you have to take, where you can actually answer your own questions and everybody else's questions regarding this biggest of all conspiracies. It's going to take, I don't know, hundreds maybe of hours of research for you to actually be a person who can know the Earth is flat and motionless, know that there's a huge conspiracy 500 plus years running, and be able to talk about it and convince people and not sound like a moron when you are talking about this subject. So I think those are the two issues, is that people don't want to be ridiculed, and they don't want to go against things that they've already said, which are contrary to this truth.
Going back to the David Icke video, I did watch that, and what I found very interesting is he did not say that the Earth was not flat. You're right, he went into all this esoteric consciousness stuff, but the words, no, it's a bunch of bunk, it's a globe, he didn't go there. So I found that to be very interesting, that he found himself in a position, I think, where he had to basically walk the fence.
Yeah, he played politician on that one big time. 15 minutes of waffling about nothing. He didn't even give any of the usual NASA, ball Earth proofs in quotation marks that they always throw out at you. I don't know if he even knows them. I think he just went to his old standby, the old consciousness double slit experiment, whatever. Do you believe me yet?
Yeah. It was very interesting. I did see that. You mentioned the moon and the sun being disks. So let me ask this question. I have always questioned, Eric, NASA's SOHO pictures. These pictures, I have never thought that they looked real to me. And of course, never. I mean, it's just ridiculous stuff, and every time I've looked at them, I thought to myself, this is nonsense. And of course, the moon landing pictures are fakes. To me, the moon pictures have not stood the test of time at all. The more time it goes on, the more bogus they look. And I was wondering if you could explain to the audience, from your perspective, the sun and the moon. What are they? How far away are they? If you could just take us through that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, they'll tell you that the sun and the moon are spheres, and that the moon is 400 times closer and 400 times smaller than the sun. And that's why they falsely appear to be exactly the same size when we look at them. Now, if you just use your own senses and common sense, you see that the sun and the moon are pretty much the same size. And if you use plane trigonometry and sextants to make an isosceles triangle, two people measure the angle of the sun, the angle of the sun at 60 degrees from it, two people, and then measure the distance from those two people, you then get the distance diagonally to the sun from there. So this is an easy way that flat earthers have measured the distance to the sun and the moon for centuries, and they come up with pretty much the same answers, which is about 30 miles in diameter, about 2,000 to 3,000 miles away. NASA, however, they've been giving you different answers based on non-provable things. They just come up with theories, or they base it on stuff like the red shifting of light. That's how they come up with star distances, supposedly. The color of the light that comes in, they put it on a scale, and then they have that scale up against certain distances that they claim are real, but of course they've never gone there. They've never taken a tape measure to check these things. There's no odometer out there. So it's just a bunch of nonsense. Copernicus, when he came up with the heliocentric model, he said that the sun was 3 million miles away. and then Kepler's like 12 million, and Newton's like 26 million. And it's like a poker game, betting to see who can get away with saying it's further and further away. And they're just laughing behind closed doors. 104 million. You just keep going. I'll raise you. And so we're up to 93 million at the moment, and we're just waiting for the next, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's already turned the Earth into a pear. He'll probably move the sun away a couple million miles, just why not?
And there's no pictures of that pear-shaped Earth that I could find.
No. he's actually not the first person to say that it's pear. That's actually the heliocentrists have been writing about this for a while, because it's a refutation to a flat Earth proof, because there provably is more land south of the equator, and so it's flattened at the poles. They've done proofs that the Earth is flatter than they claim it is, so they get around it by saying, well, it's just flatter there in that area, but overall it's still a sphere. So that's why we've gone from a sphere Earth to an oblate spheroid flattened at the poles to an oblate spheroid flattened at the poles, bulging south of the equator, i.e. pear-shaped. So we've gone through these three models, actually, as they've tried to refute flat Earth refutations to their model throughout the years. So they've been talking about the pear-shaped Earth long before Neil deGrasse Tyson, actually, and it's to try and refute flat Earthers. And that's why they would do that. But as you said, when you see all of their supposed photos of the Earth and none of them show an oblate spheroid or a pear-shaped Earth, well, you're going against the supposed evidence that you're presenting us with your explanations against our flat Earth refutations. So basically, what you're looking at is liars backed into a corner. When a liar's backed into a corner, they don't suddenly come out with the truth. They just start spouting lies even more frantically. And if you pay attention to the flat Earth proofs and NASA's responses to them, you'll see that that's what it is. You've got a liar being backed into a corner. You watch these 200 proofs the Earth's not a spinning ball, and then look at, your NASA 10 proofs the Earth's a ball videos. Which one's more convincing? Not only do I have 20 times more information, I've debunked all of their 10 proofs, which shows that they aren't proof at all. So literally, all the supposed evidence and proof that you've been shown of a spinning ball Earth has been created for you. It's not reality. The horizon is not the curvature of the ball Earth. The horizon is just the vanishing line of perspective from your point of view. You can use a telescope or binoculars and zoom in on the horizon, and something that's been completely disappeared beyond the horizon, like a ship, can come all the way back into view, proving that that is not the curvature of the Earth you're looking at, as they tell you, but it's just the vanishing line of perspective from your point of view. And they still use that as a proof of the ball Earth. They say that ships going away, as you see their hulls disappear before the masthead, because they're going over the curvature of the Earth. Yet we've got technology now to prove that that's wrong, but they'll still keep saying it. I put it in my videos. I'll put it right here. I'll put it in this video of me talking about this right now. You may be watching this on YouTube. You're watching a horizon shot, seeing a boat that was out of view. Now it's completely into view, so you can see that that is not the curvature of the ball Earth, but there will still be 50 people in the comments section saying that that's the curvature of the ball Earth. Yeah. It's called the Delphi technique. It's something that psychopaths do. Like I said, you back them into a corner. They don't start telling the truth. They double up. That's why we're up to 93 million miles right now. They just keep doubling up. I'll double up on that. We'll keep going. I'm not going to fold. Why am I going to fold? We've been going for 500 years. Let's keep going. I don't care if Eric's proven us wrong. We'll just keep going. It doesn't matter. Just pretend that he hasn't proven us wrong. 200 proofs, whatever. I like my 10 better. They can just keep going. Neil deGrasse Tyson's got 4.4 million Twitter zombie followers right now, parroting his every word. How are we going to break through this? It's going to take some time. It's going to take some effort. And it's going to take getting through to these zombified authority followers. And like we were talking about earlier, why are they doing this? This is why. Look at these people. Millions of people following liars. Just lie after lie after lie. I mean, nothing that comes out of the man's mouth is the truth. And millions of people hang on his every tweet. I mean, that's why that's why you've been lied to about the Holocaust. That's why you're being lied to about who owns the media, who owns the political system, banking system, the whole gamut. Because when we lie to you, we gain control over you. When we gain control over you, we can do whatever we want. And there's a whole religion and secret society network who their wet dream is being able to control the rest of humanity and make them do whatever they want. They wake up every day and pray about it. It's what they want. They don't have empathy. If you look into psychopaths, sociopaths, and narcissists, it's a psychological personality disorder, which unfortunately many people in the world have, estimates between 5 to 10% of the people. And what it is you have no empathy, no remorse. You don't feel bad for other people. You don't feel bad for things that you've done. And in an extreme version, it's a sadist thing where you actually feel good when other people feel bad. So you've got a big segment of the population, and unfortunately this segment of the population, high-functioning sociopaths, tend to be the ones that are in your power positions. And so you've got a bunch of people who now have Stockholm syndrome and borderline personality disorder from dealing with these people who are abusing us mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, telling us that we came from a non-God Big Bang accident and the spinning ball universe came out of that. They've metaphysically and physically thrown us off kilter so much that we just, like we said, we just hang on Neil deGrasse Tyson's every tweet now, because what else are we going to do? Everything else has been discredited. Are we going to go to the Bible? We're going to start going to church? We're going to look at the guy wearing a fish hat and start listening to what he says? I don't think so. So
You're too funny. Let me run this by you. I will say, look, does it make more sense to you that the Earth is flat, and let's just say there is a dome and it's enclosed, that would be more of a reason for the controllers to control because, well, they can't go anywhere. So if I can't go anywhere, I might as well control what I have. Because if they had breakaway civilizations and secret space programs and the such, well, I don't think they would waste their time really focusing on controlling you and me and everybody else. They would go someplace where they can enjoy life and be what they want to be. So I'm just putting that out there as food for thought. I don't know. I'm just saying, though, it seems to me that if you can't go someplace and you're, quote unquote, trapped, that you're going to, human nature for some people, especially psychopaths, is I'm going to make sure I can control it. I'm going to control the environment. I'm going to control the dynamic, which means I'm going to control the planet, and I called it a planet. They're going to control the Earth, and they're going to control humanity. I mean, does that seem to make sense?
absolutely. That is what a psychopath seeks in their life, because it's exactly what they don't have over themselves.
Yeah.
They're some of the people who have the least amount of self-control over themselves and over their decisions in life. They're totally impulsive. They're in a base kind of chakra, the reptilian complex in the back of their brain kind of thing. They haven't really evolved the mammalian empathy, nurturing type of instincts. They're just the cold reptilian type. And this is what I think the whole reptilian thing is talking about, by the way, David, is that ancient cultures, they expressed the fact that there's basically a divide in humanity between a reptilian-like humanity, which are the psychopaths, sociopaths, and narcissists who have no empathy, no remorse, and they just seek control and selfish pleasures. And then there's the other half, the mammalian, if you will, type of humanity, mammalian-brained neocortex function. Actually, and this is actually the case that the psychopaths, their brain functions differently if you put them under encephalographs. Their brains fire in different ways during different times when a normal functioning brain would. So literally, it's like there is a second species here with us that looks like they're human, but they're actually reptiles. Now, not in the shape-shifting, whatever type that David Icke is talking about, but in the nuts and bolts psychology sense that there are humans who are born literally from childhood. They're not seen to have any empathy or show remorse for their actions, and it doesn't get better as they grow up. They've been trying to come up with therapies and different things for this, but nobody has ever yet reformed a psychopath. and made them a empathetic, feeling, loving, selfless person. It just hasn't happened. So it's like there really is a division between the reptilian, if you will, type of people who have no empathy and just seek to control and exploit everyone else, and the majority of humanity, who do feel empathy and who are in general good people, but who are being exploited and controlled by this very small minority of reptilian psychopaths.
Yeah, yeah. So, and how does that reptilian psychology, that way of thinking, Eric, how is that instilled? I mean, is it basically through the programming that's all around us? Is it nurtured? There are people, I guess, that are actually born into these bloodlines or born into these families or born into these organizations. This is how they're taught that they are to exist. I mean, is that what we're talking about? Like a dark existentialism, if you will?
Yeah, well, there's intentional and I guess unintentional, you could call it, but it's mostly caused by abuse and trauma. And the people who are in these societies, and especially, for instance, Judaism, they're aware that the trauma of cutting the foreskin of a male baby on the seventh or eighth day is, it's the most sensitive organ of a baby that was just born. And you go, and not only do they cut it off, they then have a rabbi suck the blood off of the freshly cut penis and call this a holy ritual. And they have all these holy names for it. But it's been shown that doing this actually causes psychopathic tendencies. So, and why wouldn't it? When you traumatize a child that's just been born to that level that it's convulsing in seizures of pain and crying, and basically I've seen them pass out afterwards because of the pain. When you're doing that to a newborn, you can't tell me that that's not going to have some sort of lasting traumatic effect. And they've actually done studies now showing that it does. It turns off those, like I was saying, the certain parts of the brain that are supposed to function for empathy. They'll show like cute teddy bears or whatever on a screen, and then they show a murder scene, and then back to the cute teddy bears and stuff. They do tests like this, and psychopaths, their brains are not firing the way they're supposed to, and their pleasure centers are often firing up on the bloody, gruesome scenes, and on the empathetic scenes, they're not registering anything. And so you can actually you can turn people into this through ritual abuse. And that's what's been going on for hundreds of years as well. This is another subject that's rarely touched. There's people there's the whole societies, the whole point of the society is to get children into it so they can ritually abuse them and then turn them into future members of the society. And these societies are like psychopathic recruitment institutions. Psychopaths gravitate towards Judaism and Freemasonry because of these things, the blood rituals and all the things that are involved in them. It's not something that a good feeling, empathetic person gravitates towards. I heard about Freemasonry, and they do ritual goat sacrifices, and you have to have, at sword point, you have to say that you'll swear all these oaths that you'll never divulge the secrets of Masonry. That means that you're swearing to be a liar for the rest of your life. That means you can only tell the truth, the whole truth that you know, inside the windowless Mason lodge with all your brothers, and outside of the lodge, you have to lie to everyone else. You turn into Janus, the two-faced. You become a sworn liar. And that's just a liar. I mean, that's not going into the abuse and everything else in there. But just that alone shows the kind of people who are in these organizations. Of course, they come out and they give you a pancake breakfast and ride around in their little Shriners go-karts and try to, make you think that they're charitable in their hospitals or whatever. You look into the history of that, you find how many people in the Shriners Children's Hospital have been raped, how many pedophiles are at the top of those things, and why they are into children's organizations in the first place. CPS is another one. It's disgusting. Abuse, trauma is a big part of it. And yes, you absolutely can create psychopaths, sociopaths, and it's being done.
I did some interviews with a lady by the name of Elisa E. There's 2 interviews, and I'll attach them to the show notes here as reference. But she was a survivor of MK Ultra and government mind control. And what she takes the audience through is just unbelievable. Everything that you're saying here that goes on is what goes on. I remember, having the discussions with her, Eric, and it's one thing to read about this stuff. It's another thing to have somebody who actually experienced it firsthand to validate those horrific things. So, I mean, I'm just pointing that out for the audience so that when you get to this section of the discussion with Eric, if you're interested to get into more detail about some of what we're talking about here, just go to the show notes below and you can click on those links. Let me ask you, Eric, to step back for a second here. What about folks that say, look, I have a telescope and I can clearly see Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, so therefore, because I can see this through my telescope, these planets exist, they are round, and you're crazy for thinking otherwise. When they look through a telescope, what are they seeing?
They're seeing the same thing I'm seeing, but they're colored by the authority figures whom they trust and believe in, who tell them that those are actually spinning ball planets up there, and have given them CGI Photoshop photos to show them what Hubble says they look like. So when you or I look at Mars, it's just a tiny dot of red light, and that's all that can be discerned. Yes, it is round light, but it can't be determined to be spherical light, and to my eye it does not look spherical at all, as spheres would have shading differences, and you should be able to see them. In NASA's photos, of course, they look very spherical, but NASA's photos aren't photos. They're CGI, the computer-generated images. Every single NASA planet photo or video you see is fake. They do not take real pictures of the planets. The planets are called wandering stars. That's what they were known as long before anyone ever started calling them planets. And if you look out tonight, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between planets and stars. Even with a good telescope, you can rarely tell which one's a planet and which one's a star, because first of all, they all look different than one another. But they also all look the same. A planet doesn't look that much different than a star. They do have their own uniqueness. Some of them twinkle like a diamond, change all colors. Some of them look like an orb. Some of them look, like a lemon shape. Some of them look like a disco ball. There's a bunch of different things like that. But none of them look like spherical spinning ball planets like they show us in our textbooks or like NASA comes out with. They all just look like, even Saturn, they'll say, what about the rings of Saturn? Well, again, in NASA's photos, they clearly look like rings around a spherical planet. But when I look at Saturn, it just looks like kind of a halo of light extending out from a circle of light. Right. It doesn't necessarily look like a ring at all, and the ring, halo, whatever you want to call it, doesn't necessarily look like it's going around a three-dimensional spherical object. It just looks like a tiny dot of light. It's just a luminary. It really does not look like something you could set foot on, especially like Sirius. Like I've taken videos with my P900 camera. It's this new camera that came out. It's got the best optical zoom of any camera, so you can zoom in on the stars, and you can see, very clearly something that's supposed to be trillions and trillions of miles away. I mean, I can see it pretty clearly with the 83 times zoom camera, and that's nothing. So, first of all, I don't think those things are trillions of miles away. And using secants and plane trigonometry, they figure to be just a few thousand miles away, just like the moon and the sun, not trillions upon trillions as they're telling us. And again, they're just telling you that based on a formula they came up with, where they correlate huge distances with a electromagnetic color scale, and then whatever color the starlight comes in at, they say, well, that's how many millions and millions of light years away it is. That's not science. That's absolute science fiction. But this is what passes for science nowadays. So this is what I'm competing with when I take actual photos of the stars, and you can see that they're clearly not suns, as they claim. They claim all the stars are suns with their own solar systems, with planets and everything revolving around them billions and billions of miles away. I don't think so, because I can zoom in on it and it looks like a disco ball. It looks like a... It doesn't look anything like the things they're telling you. You type in "stars are not suns" into YouTube and you can see some of the pictures I've taken. I mean, this is real science. Sorry to say, what they're showing you is just complete fiction. They're not actually zooming in on anything. I'd love to see a NASA video that proves that they're actually shooting with a telescope. Right? They claim, oh, it's a Hubble telescope. No, it's not. It's a CGI Photoshop picture. What do you mean it's a Hubble telescope? You show me an actual video zooming in from a real telescope into some of these galaxies or whatever you're claiming exists, from the base to the full zoom. I want to see the whole thing, and I want to see it not look like computer-generated image for once, please, NASA. Please? I don't think so. We've never gotten it. We're not going to get it. They just released how many thousands of new photos to try and combat people like myself coming out with claiming that they're fake. So they just came out with, I don't know how many new remastered Apollo photos to
I
try
saw
and.
those. Yep.
But people are now going through these and finding even more anomalies. You know, their photos are fake, so it's easy to find anomalies that prove that they're fake. They got Earth pasted into moon photos. They got a rectangular copy paste, clip art that you just remove the hues or whatever, and you can see that, hey, that's not, the space isn't black right there. Space is a rectangle right there around around the Earth. The heck is that? Oh, it's a fake image. That's what that is. Right. You know, the shadows going the wrong way, there being multiple light sources. That people have gone through the photos to the point that there's no question that the moon landing was done in a studio. But again, just like the flat earth thing, it doesn't matter how many proofs you come out with. I came out with a huge list of moon landing hoax evidence. I probably had more than 200 points. It doesn't matter how many points you have. I could have 1,000 points. If people have decided that they're not going to look into this and it's ridiculous, what's that quote? The height of ignorance is condemnation without investigation.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people at the height of ignorance, and they're proud and happy to stay there. So it doesn't matter how many proofs you give them or how fully and thoroughly debunked these things have been, because they're still living in their status quo consensus reality life where you're the first person that's ever challenged them on that. So they're not going to budge. They're just going to go with the flow for now. We need to get the tipping point before some of these, spineless, sleepy sheeple waking up. And they're not that important anyway, by the way. People who are wasting a bunch of time trying to debate the flat earth with people that are just talking with that kind of voice or doing so through a keyboard. I can often feel it through the keyboard. If people aren't actually giving you the time of day, then debating them about this, or if they're just attacking the person, they're not actually getting into the evidence, you're wasting your time. Don't even bother with them. They're not going to convert until everyone else has figured it out. And then when there's it's easy now to just say, okay, I'll be a flat earther then if everyone else figured it out. That's when they'll convert. So people who are the real truth seekers out there, you know who you are. The people who are listening to this right now because you're one of those type of people that's like, I just want to know the truth. I just want to know what is going on out there. There's people like that. And those are the people you need to find, and those are the people you need to talk to. And those of us who are like that, we're the ones that are going to foster this change and bring the truth out. It's not going to be those NASA zombies that are debating you. You're just wasting your time and energy debating with them. You're better off preaching to the choir than talking to these people. Once the choir starts singing loudly enough, they'll start turning their heads and seeing what the fuss is all about. And the smarter people are going to turn their heads sooner. And that's what we want. We don't need the dumb people to wake up first and then start going around with their ignorance trying to wake other people up. Let's wake up the smart people first, and we'll go from there,
Now, Eric, when we wake up the smart people and we reach a critical mass, do you ever give any thought to what that means from a change perspective? Is it in our lifetime? Is it not in our lifetime? I mean, do you ever give any thought to that? Or is your take, what? It just needs to get done. Whether it's our lifetime or some other lifetime, the ball has to get rolling. What is that change like? And what has to happen in your view?
Yeah, I don't know when it will happen because it's totally up to us what that answer is. So I would like to see it happen within our lifetime. But if it couldn't happen within our lifetime, then it still doesn't mean, we don't need to get a move on here. 500 years running already. Holy crap. This is a real conspiracy. This is ridiculous. I can't believe I'm even talking about this right now. There's literally a 500-year run. Well, some will tell you 2,500, right? They'll tell you right from Pythagoras. They'll say the ancient Greeks knew the earth was a ball. I get that one all the time. No, they didn't. Like Pythagoras came out with it, and then you got Eratosthenes came out with one supposed proof that he came up with, and almost nobody talked about the ball earth again until Copernicus. So just to throw that one out there, I hear that all the time. They want to act like people have been believing in the ball for 2,500 years. They haven't. It's only 500. But 500 is still a big number. And this is legit. We've been totally lied about the earth under our feet and the stars, sun and moon over our heads, where we come from, whether there's a divine force, whether consciousness is a priori or matter is. I mean, they're trying to tell you that matter is God. They're trying to tell you that the physical universe came into existence before life, intelligence, and consciousness. And life, intelligence, and consciousness just randomly came out of this Big Bang accident. How does that make you feel as a human? You feel pretty special? I bet not. You probably feel like this is pretty stupid. Why do we even exist here? We're a random sneeze. We're an accident. We just blew up and, molecules started spinning around together, and eventually a fish crawled up onto water and turned into a monkey, and that turned into you, and here we are. That's what they're trying to tell you. Think about how that makes you feel metaphysically. Where does that place you as a speck of dust in the corner of the universe? That if there even was a God, he's forgotten about you. He doesn't care about you. It's probably aliens that are better than you or created you. That's the new NASA thing. By the way, that's the next step of this indoctrination. Now that they've got everyone believing that there's septillion ball planets out there in the universe they claim to have found. So they say, well, if there's a septillion ball planets out there, they've also come up with a bunch of Earth 2.0s and whatnot, and there's many that are just like Earth, so that means there could be aliens. And that's what they've been indoctrinating us into for the past century, basically, is this alien thing. I asked my great-grandfather, do you believe in aliens? Back when I was like 8 years old. And he's like, no, he's laughing at me. I asked my grandfather about it, and he's like, I don't think so. No, but I don't really know. And then I asked my dad about it, and he gave me the standard NASA answer. He said, well, there's billions and billions of planets out there. I imagine just the law of averages that there would probably be another one that has intelligent life somewhere. So yeah, I bet there's aliens out there. And then as an adult teaching English, I would ask my students, how many believe in aliens? And these would be, well, I've asked all ages, but the most impressive results were from the younger children. So I get children of like 7, 8 years old. The whole class raises their hands. Everybody believes in aliens. Nobody's ever seen an alien, ever. There's no evidence that such a thing exists whatsoever. Yeah. But they've been able to convince in the past 100 years, literally a whole generation, to just believing that something that doesn't exist at all does. And that's exactly what they did 500 years ago with this spinning ball Earth that everyone's still believing. So they're just piling it on. 150 years ago, they came out with the evolution idea that you're a monkey. 50 years ago, it's a Big Bang, there's no God. Now they're just going to keep going. Hey, there's no God, and guess what? Aliens are your God. Aliens created you. Then they'll probably come out with some sort of genetic mutation, who knows what animal hybrid, I have no idea, and or perhaps a transhuman, technologically advanced, thing where they've merged technology, Skynet style, Terminator. Who knows? They could. I wouldn't put anything past these people. Like you said, they're 10 steps ahead. And why have they been indoctrinating us for 100 years into this alien thing? They could easily come out with some sort of amazing leap forward and claim that this is now an alien race, when it could really just be some genetic project they've been doing underground, or some transhumanist technological hybridization thing they've been doing, and then claim to now be aliens. They even have this thing called Project Bluebeam. NASA came out with. It's been in the works for decades, and there's evidence of it existing now with these floating cities appearing over China and whatnot. It's a program where they're able to create mass holographic displays on the sky. So now NASA has the ability to basically, they could make a fake alien invasion. They could make fake UFOs appear in the sky, or a rapture, and have Jesus come back, and who knows what. There's definitely technology well beyond what we know, and they could be using this for the next step of this deception, which clearly is the alien step. That's why we just got water on Mars, right? Why do we have to have water on Mars? Because water is the first step to life. So the next thing we're going to get is some sort of life on Mars. And then the life that they find is going to get more and more intelligent until they come out with their new alien species, or whatever it is they got planned for us.
Those pictures that came back about that floating city, that was recent, about a week ago or so, I would say, maybe 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable. It really is. I mean, they're floating that out there, and they want to, in my view, they want to see what the response is. They want to see how the public takes to these things, Sometimes I kind of laugh. I think to myself, they've got the people so dumbed down and so apathetic that I think they can beam whatever they want up there. People would just go about looking at their phones.
Right.
you
Yeah,
know?
well, they'd film it. They'd film it through their phones
Yeah.
and then send it to their friends and upload it to their Facebook and just comment about it
Yeah.
and click like and then
Yeah.
go to bed. Yeah.
So in a way, I wonder if all this dumbing down is going to backfire on them. But let me ask this question here. I promise not to keep you anymore because I know it's getting late where you are, and you've been so generous with your time. Other than yourself, are there other flat Earth researchers that you recommend? Who do you recommend that people go to take a look at the material, whether it be YouTube or websites or books or whatever?
IFERS is the forum that I've created for genuine researchers to come to. And we've got over 2,500 members there, and the people there are brilliant. I recommend just checking out ifers.boards.net. You don't have to become a member. Just look at it as a guest, and you'll find thousands of flat earthers. And these are all people who I absolutely trust and believe in. And there's also guys like My Perspective we talked about earlier. I think he's a real good source of information. There's a few diamonds in the rough out there, but I want people to be weary of what you're looking at. Don't assume that just because Flat Earth is in the title of your video that means that this is a legitimate video. Because, as I said, that they're purposely muddying the waters of the Flat Earth with a bunch of nonsense so that it doesn't really taste good. It's not palatable. You take a little taste and you spit it out. It's not what you want, and that's why they're mixing this in there. They want to poison the well. So there's a few people, like I said, most of them are on IFERS. The ones that I would recommend are there. So that's where I would send people to ifers.boards.net, Planting Conspiracy, and I've linked through my YouTube channel as well to people. So. Start with those things as a base and branch out there. You'll figure it out.
Okay, and I'll put all those links in the show notes so everybody can get there. Now, my last question, I promise it's my last. Do you foresee a time when you think to yourself, I've gone as far as I can go on a flat Earth topic. I've put it all out there, so it either resonates or it doesn't, and now it's time for me to move on and focus on something else. Do you ever have those thoughts?
I can't imagine that would happen in my lifetime. I think even if the majority of humanity woke up to the deception, you've still got the people who've been lying to us in the main positions of power. They're not going away.
Yeah.
So it would be a constant struggle to maintain the flat Earth knowledge. So not only do we have to wake humanity up, now we have to wake them up, and then we have to retake over the whole media. We need to make sure that the next generation doesn't just get re-propagandized into the spinning ball again, and then everything we did was for naught. So not only do we have to wake everybody up, now we have a responsibility to perpetuate the reality, the truth, through new media. Because, like I said, the mainstream and the alternative media is totally controlled. So we need to have a third-tier grassroots media that's not controlled, just independent people like you and me, just guys that figure this stuff out, that aren't part of some organization. We don't need to run for president. We don't need to, go on television or something. We don't, I mean, that would be nice, but it's not going to happen. We have to use the channels that are available to us, not the ones that were created and completely controlled by them. So that's our responsibility, and being one of the main figures in it, I can't imagine that now that I've come out with this that I'll ever stop or like it won't be relevant, like I won't have to talk about it anymore, because we need to make sure that this doesn't happen again. They totally fooled humanity for 500 years. Like, that's a big deal. We can't just, we figured it out, yay, have a party, and then go back to sleep. We have to make sure that we maintain control. I mean, we've been lied to because we've given the reins of power over to these psychopaths. We got to take it back. That's the main issue. The reason I'm so adamant about flat Earth is because I found this is a niche. This is a huge rebel middle finger in the air to the status quo and to the mainstream authority figures running our lives. And it proves that they're liars. And it will continue to prove that as time goes on, and they don't budge, and they just keep having more and more lies as we wake up to it. So flat Earth is just a lens through which this rebellion against the New World Order can really happen, because it's the ultimate lie. You expose that, and it's relevant to everyone. Everyone's living on this flat Earth, so this is relevant to everyone. So that's why I'm pushing it so hard. I see it as one of the most important truths. Once people wake up to that, you can't not wake up to everything else. Once you realize that you have been lied to by, the government, the media, NASA, you name it, these people are all these official channels that are all lying to you, not just unknowingly lying to you outright. Whoa! Now we've got a responsibility. Now it's the biggest entry into the rabbit hole. It doesn't end with flat Earth. Flat Earth is going to be it's the most provable conspiracy out there. As much as people like to ridicule it and laugh about it and claim like there's no proof for it, when you really start digging into it, not only will you find reams and reams of proof and evidence for the flat Earth, you're going to find that there's no evidence whatsoever for the spinning ball Earth. And then as you look into it, you realize, wow, this is so easy. It's obvious. It's absolutely obvious. It's so obvious that the Earth is flat and motionless. You don't feel 1,000-mile-per-hour wind hitting you in the face. You don't see a curve in the horizon. The horizon rises to your eye level no matter where you go. Think about that. It's absolutely impossible on a ball. If you're on a ball, no matter how big it is, as you rise in altitude, you have to tilt your neck downwards so that you can see that horizon. I don't care if the ball is 25,000 miles in circumference, like they say, or it's 25 million miles in circumference and they got it wrong by a factor of 1,000,000. As you rise up, that horizon needs to stay exactly where it is. And the higher you go up, you're going to have to look down. You will never look down to the horizon on our flat Earth. And that's just one of the 200 proofs you can find in my book and the video we're talking about. And those trump all of the supposed proofs that you've been told in your school books and from NASA.
Eric, I don't live far from the North Carolina coast, so I take a good pair of Celestron binoculars that I have down there when we go down, Rebecca and I, and we take a look out at the horizon, and maybe you can barely see something out there. Barely. And then as soon as you put those binoculars up to your eyes and you take a look out, comes right in. You see the hull of the ship, you see the wake, you see everything. So to the audience, what you need to do is you really need to use your God-given gift of reason and intellect and think for yourself and use your perceptions that come naturally to you, and a lot of this stuff will start to fall in place. A lot of folks, Eric, have said that this is nothing but a distraction, that there are other things that we need to focus on that require our energy and our attention, and this distracts from that. It's the what I call you can't walk and chew gum at the same time argument. Whereas I look at this and I look at the flat Earth and I think to myself, once you get your head wrapped around this, it essentially level sets everything else. It is like a major correction that takes place in many of the other things that maybe you were spending your time on that you now realize are a complete waste of time.
Absolutely. Yeah, it brings you back down to earth. You're not floating around in alien conspiracy theories and speculation up in the heavens anymore with stuff that you couldn't know anyway.
Right.
And you come back down to earth to easily provable evidence, physical, common sense, perception-based things, and suddenly you're not satisfied with all the rest anymore. Once you come back down to the flat earth and you look at things through an evidence-based perspective, which is what you have to do to figure out whether you are on a spinning ball or a flat motionless earth, you're going to have to look at the evidence. That's the only way you're going to be able to do it. And once you do, you're going to find, A, that you're on a flat motionless earth, and B, that this is a good way to do research. This is how I should be doing all conspiracy research. And maybe we should call it conspiracy research instead of conspiracy theory. And maybe the people who are giving us a bunch of conspiracy theories aren't really doing any credit to the work, to the people who are actually doing conspiracy research.
Right.
I mean, every subject you look into, I guarantee you can find someone who's written, made a video, or a podcast for and against that thing. And in both, they've probably given evidence and fallacies and other nonsense for and against those things. So it's your responsibility when you're looking for the truth to obviously look into both sides extensively, not just one of each. That's still not enough. You have to look into both sides to find out which one is actually right. Because with every subject, there's two sides of that coin, and only one of them's really right ultimately. People love to stand in the middle and claim that, everything's right, whatever. Life's not like that. I got people telling me, well, you know what I think, Eric? The earth is flat and it's a ball. What do you think of that? Oh, I get this more than you'd imagine.
Oh,
people literally want to hang on to it so bad. They're trying to tell me that, well, from a 2D perspective, you could say you're on a flat surface, but maybe from a 3D perspective, you're on a ball. What does that even mean? Well, and they'll just talk in circles. But what it is that there's people telling them the Earth's flat. They've seen some videos, interesting, and then the rest of their friends, family, whatever, say it's a ball, and you're crazy if you say that stuff. So to fit in with, these people are probably water personalities. They're probably Geminis and Libras or whatever. That they're like, well, it's a flat and a ball. Can I straddle the line? And they're doing that now. It's a funny phenomenon, but don't do that. Don't straddle the line of something that can't be straddled. The Earth cannot be flat. Well, you know what I asked one of these guys? He's telling me it's flat and a ball, and I said, all right. So is it also motionless and not motionless? You couldn't stand on that one. I mean, you had to make it. You couldn't stand on that one. So you do have to figure out. You have to look at both sides of these coins. The Holocaust and the Holohoax. Look into both of those.
Right.
You'll find a lot of lying Jews telling you that there was a Holocaust, and you'll find a lot of truth-telling non-Jews showing you evidence that there couldn't possibly have been one. There's no gas chambers, that the supposed mass graves they've done ground-penetrating radar and found none whatsoever. Things like this. Well, once again, evidence-based, ground-penetrating radar, actual gas chamber experts going in and finding whether there's residue, physical residue, things like this. That's evidence-based research compared with, like, the Diary of Anne Frank or something. That's not evidence-based research. First of all, that's just a diary, even if it was true. Then you look into it and you find, this supposed diary of a little girl was actually written by her father, as evidenced by a court case claiming that Otto Frank owed Meyer Levin $50,000 for the diary that he wrote in a ballpoint pen, which didn't even exist at the time that it was supposedly written. So, and of course, they make you all read that in school, don't they? I read the Diary of Anne Frank. Everybody reads the Diary of Anne Frank. They showed us Schindler's List, too, even though it was like rated R or something. We got like permission slips from our parents so that we could be propagandized fully. So we had a unit on the Holocaust every year to teach us to be sorry for the Jews, when in fact they're the predators. They're the ones who've been lying to us all along.
And if you go to school in Europe, right, it's mandatory that they take field trips to Auschwitz.
Right, and you can only talk about what they want you to talk about, because in most of Europe, 17 countries now, I think.
It's a thought crime.
It's a thought crime. It's the only thought crime, really, that I've seen. It's the only subject in history that you can get thrown in prison, and many authors and researchers, lecturers, teachers have been thrown in prison throughout Europe just for saying these same things I'm saying, just for saying, hey, a guy went there with ground-penetrating radar and found out that Treblinka has absolutely no mass graves whatsoever. Just because he said that, and it's true, he's now in jail for like 7 years. I mean, what the heck is going on? This is it. And to be honest, I bring up this topic a lot because I get, like, this is the reason I've been deleted off Facebook. I was fine flat earthing, but I wasn't fine Jewing. And they deleted my Adolf Hitler versus the Jew World Order thread off of my forum. Somebody complained. And now my video of that on YouTube, it's still there, but nobody can play it. I don't know if you guys try to play my Adolf Hitler versus the Jew World Order video. Almost everybody's commenting that they can't, it just won't play. They left it up, but it won't play. They've completely taken down The Greatest Story Never Told, which is a 6-hour documentary about the truth about Hitler. They don't want you to know the truth about Hitler. They don't want you to know the truth about the Jews. That's why it's illegal in 17 countries. That's why they enforce it with jail time. I think Voltaire said, if you want to know who rules over you, just find out who you're not allowed to criticize. There's only one group of people that fits that track with those laws, as well as with their lobbies and, the JIDF and the ADL and the Southern Poverty Law Center. There's no anti-Jesuit defamation league. There's no anti-Bilderberg defamation league.
And that's what I tell people, Eric. I say, look, you really have to question something that you are not allowed to talk about. Don't
Absolutely.
Think about it. Don't say anything about it. Don't question it. And
that's a red flag right there.
Exactly. And that's what, it gets very disheartening sometimes, because you'll bring that up and you'll say to people, does that not strike you as odd? And they just look at you with this stupid look on their face.
Well, they've seen one too many Steven Spielberg movies, and they read the Diary of Anne Frank when they were in school, and they had a unit every year about how Hitler was a demon, And that's it. I mean, how could you possibly be anything but wrong talking about the Jews not being victims?
Are you familiar with Nick Kolestrom's book, Breaking the Spell?
No.
Nick wrote a very good book. I think it's about maybe a year old. It's a very, very good book on the evidence with regard to the camps. He talks about Auschwitz. He talks about all of them. It's a very fact-based, evidence-based book, and I recommend to anybody who really wants to get a different perspective on the Holocaust that they pick up Nick's book and read it.
Excellent.
So anyway, Eric, this has been a fabulous discussion. It really has. I really enjoy speaking with you.
Thanks, man. No, you're a great host. That's why I wanted to come on again. I got a lot of good reviews from everyone last time, and they were hoping that I'd go back with you. So glad to talk to you again.
Yeah, anytime. So we should probably reconnect in the next few months or so and catch up on your progress in converting everybody to the flat Earth, and wear your flak jacket.
Excellent. Will do.
All right, Eric. So it's been a pleasure, and we'll talk again.
All right, great. Thanks, Mike.
Bye-bye now. And that concludes another Sage Aquay Hour interview, and I hope you enjoyed the discussion as much as I did. Links to my guests' websites and social media are included in the show notes below. And as always, I'd like to thank everyone for listening and visiting the blog. You can get to the blog by typing in sageaquayradio.blogspot.com or simply head over to my hub website at sageaquay.com. Also, if you get a moment, please visit laboroflovemusic.com to listen to my album, Leaving Dystopia. And remember, live in truth and always serve creation. It's really that simple. See everyone next week. Be safe, enjoy, and God bless.